Donald Trump's first wife, Ivana, died in 2022. Allegedly, she fell down steps at her New York apartment. She was then buried in one of the kind of backlot areas of Donald Trump's golf course in New Jersey, Bedminster, which entitled Donald Trump to get tax breaks as a result of turning the golf course into a cemetery. As Donald Trump's dark past is being revealed, we need to take a look at the circumstances surrounding Donald Trump's divorce with Ivana, the death of Ivana, Ivana's relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell, how Ghislaine and Jeffrey Epstein hired some of the same staff as Ivana. And we need to also look into the allegations by Ivana that Donald Trump sexually assaulted her during their marriage and ripped out her hair. Donald Trump and Ivana eventually had a legal proceeding against each other where Ivana, I guess, kind of issued a retraction on the statements that she made where she says she was sexually assaulted by Donald Trump. I'm going to read for you that as well. You probably have never heard a lot of these facts before, so let me break it all down because this is certainly haunting Donald Trump right now. So Donald Trump and Ivana, again, Trump's first wife, they were married from about 1977 to 1990. Donald Trump then had an affair with Marla Maples, the actress and model. Donald Trump and Marla would go on to have a daughter together, Tiffany. And there was a interaction between Ivana and Marla Maples where they ran into each other that blew up into a massive fight. And then there was a very well-known divorce between Donald Trump and Ivana. Donald Trump was then with Marla for a few years. And then right after that were kind of the prime years that Donald Trump and Epstein were best of friends. And Epstein was using Mar-a-Lago as one of the staging grounds where he would find underage girls like Virginia Giuffre, bring Virginia Giuffre and these underage girls to Epstein's place in Palm Beach right down the block and sex traffic them. So why don't we start here? This is Ivana's final resting place right here. The Daily Mail ran an exclusive back in August 2023. Ivana Trump's cordoned-off grave is barely visible in a completely overgrown area of Trump's 506-acre Bedminster, New Jersey golf course. Very grim, very ghoulish. And just think about, again, just who does that to a family member? I mean, horrible stuff, even for the perspective of her kids. As I said, Ivana was from Czechoslovakia. Again, she was married to Trump from about 1977 to 1990. She died on July 14th, 2022 of blunt impact injuries to the torso, allegedly resulting from an accidental fall down the stairs in her Manhattan apartment. There was a book that came out in right around 92, 93. Here's the book right here. It's called The Lost Tycoon, The Many Lives of Donald J. Trump. And you see on the front cover, Ivana and Marla Maples. There was a chapter where Ivana talks about being sexually assaulted by Donald Trump. Let me share with you how Ivana described it to the author and then the statement of Ivana thereafter. Ivana Trump has been relaxing in the master bedroom of the Trump Tower triplex, thinking about the trip she will be going to take to Tahiti. The trip will not be just for a vacation. It has to do with the Donald's business. Laura Edis, the widow of the late Trump gaming division executive Mark Edis, will be going with her. Ivana has been hoping the trip will help them get over the tragedy of the helicopter crash. Suddenly, according to Ivana, the Donald storms into her room. He is looking very angry and he is cursing out loud. Your fucking doctor has ruined me, he screams. The Donald flings Ivana down onto the bed. Then he pins back her arms and grabs her by the hair. The part of her head he is grabbing corresponds to the spot on his head where the scalp reduction operation has been done. The Donald starts ripping out Ivana's hair by the handful as if he is trying to make her feel the same kind of pain that he is feeling. Ivana starts crying and screaming. The entire bed is is being covered with strands of her golden locks. But the Donald is not finished. He rips off her clothes and unzips his pants. Then he jams his penis inside her for the first time in more than 16 months. Ivana is terrified. This is not lovemaking. This is not romantic sex. It is a violent assault. She later describes what the Donald is doing to her in no uncertain terms. According to the version she repeats to some of her closest confidants, he raped me. When the Donald finally pulls out, Ivana jumps up from the bed. Then she runs upstairs to her mother's room. She locks the door and stays there crying for the rest of the night. The next morning, Ivana musters up the courage to return to the master bedroom. The Donald is there waiting for her. He leaves no doubt that he knows exactly what he did to her the night before. As she looks in horror, as the ripped out hair is scattered all over the bed, he glares at her and asks with a menacing casualness, "Does it hurt?" Now it says, on April 7th, 1993, when the first printing of Lost Tycoon was awaiting shipment, the publisher, who had met with Donald Trump and his lawyers on March 3rd, received the following communication from Donald Trump's lawyers. The statement made by Ivana Trump does not contradict or invalidate any information contained in this book, and it is included here only to give full expression to differing points of view on an important event. Statement of Ivana Trump. During a deposition given by me in connection with my matrimonial case, I stated that my husband had raped me. I wish to say that on one occasion during 1989, Mr. Trump and I had marital relations in which he behaved very differently toward me than he had during our marriage. As a woman, I felt violated, as the love and tenderness which he normally exhibited toward me was absent. I refer to this as rape, but I do not want my words to be interpreted in a literal or criminal sense. Any contrary conclusion would be an incorrect and most unfortunate interpretation of my statement, which I do not want to be interpreted in a speculative fashion, and I do not want the press or media to misconstrue what I said. That's basically her statement right there. Okay, so now what I want to share with you is this is an article from October 14th of 2019 from the Daily Beast, and it talks about how someone by the name of Janice Banasiak, who was Epstein's Palm Beach house manager, his wife and stepdaughter snagged jobs with another famous face in town, Trump's former wife, Ivana, the Daily Beast learned. As Epstein's butler for more than a decade, Banasiak testified he lived in a staff house attached to the financier's waterfront property, answered the door for girls who gave Epstein massages, and kept wads of cash to hand them on their way out. His spouse, Rodica Ophelia Banasiak, is also linked to Epstein's El Brio Way mansion through addresses on her driver's license and previous voter registration records. As recently as October 2015, a traffic citation for Ophelia listed Epstein's estate as her place of residence. Ophelia found long-term employment working for Ivana Trump until the socialite sold her Palm Beach home in 2014. That year, Ophelia's 25-year-old daughter, a law student at Columbia University, landed a summer job with Ivana too. An online resume for the daughter, which was found on the website sydex.net, includes a job with Mrs. Ivana Trump from May 2014 to July 2014. Gary Lyman, a lawyer for Ivana, told the Daily Beast that the student, who was from Romania, was tasked with helping Ivana pack her things for the move. The connection was the mom. Her mom worked for Ivana, Lyman said, adding that Ophelia's husband was the guy who worked for Epstein. It is unclear if Epstein played a role in Ophelia's employment with the Trumps. Ivana declined to answer further questions left with Lyman, and Ophelia and Banasiak declined to comment. Still, the ties between the Trumps and Epsteins run deep. And then it goes on to say Ivana Trump's name was registered in Epstein's infamous little black book, which also contains numbers for Trump, for Donald Trump, and daughter Ivanka, now First Lady Melania, and Trump's younger brother Robert and his ex-wife Blaine. Okay, I'm going to show you more about that in a moment. But now I want to show you when Donald Trump and Ivana were on Oprah together. Donald Trump said, "Our marriage worked because Ivana does exactly what I tell her to do." And then he says, "Isn't that right, guys?" And he looks at the men in the audience, and then he does a fist bump. Here, play this clip.
Tell you truthfully, we don't have tremendous fights. We should have world record-setting fights, but we really don't. We get along very well, and there's not a lot of disagreement because ultimately Ivana does exactly as I tell her to do.
See, wait a minute.
Male chauvinist.
Right, men? Is that right? Huh?
Now, here Ivana gave this interview after her divorce with Donald Trump, and she talked about how her father had a heart attack and died after her divorce with Donald, and she attributed the death to the trauma that her dad, again from Czechoslovakia, felt based on being embarrassed by what Donald did to her. Here, play this clip.
Didn't just lose her husband. In the same year, Ivana lost the other most important man in her life when her father died suddenly of a heart attack.
I was a little bit numb, and maybe that helped me also when my father passed away, because I just say, it just cannot get any worse. It just has to get better.
You say in the book you thought the divorce perhaps contributed to your father's heart condition.
I just know that my father was devastated, and my father was humiliated because he I was his pride and joy in his life. I know that he took it very hard. It's just unfortunate it did happen at a time when I did need him most.
How did you compensate for that, Ivana?
You don't.
As for her ex, Donald's new life now includes Marla, baby Tiffany, and reflections on why it is not a good idea to put your wife to work for you. When I interviewed him last year, Donald said he regretted having had Ivana run his Atlantic City casinos and the Plaza Hotel.
I think that was the single greatest cause of what happened to my marriage with Ivana.
If I look at it now, I think it was a terrible idea.
Ivana would get angry at somebody over the telephone all of a sudden who was at the casino. And she'd start shouting. And I'd say, I don't want my wife shouting at somebody like that.
Well, if you go into work and if you have 4,500 employees and the vice presidents, you cannot be a little pussycat.
There was a great softness to Ivana, and she still has that softness. But during this period of time, she became an executive, not a wife.
Suddenly the whole romance and whole evening goes because you're talking business and you're talking what has to be done and repaired and this, rather than being romantic with each other.
And one of the last interviews that Ivana gave, again, before she died based on the blunt trauma of falling down steps, was this interview she gave where she was asked about her life, and she said that she was basically satisfied with her life right now. Here, play this clip.
Miss the old life?
The old life?
Life with Donald?
I don't, no. Nothing really changed. I have a beautiful home here. I have a spectacular apartment in Miami. I have a 300-year-old fisherman houses in harbor of the Saint-Tropez. What more can I have?
So now I want to play for you Maria Farmer, one of Epstein's first victims who came forward. Maria Farmer talked about how when she was with Ghislaine, she would see Ghislaine and Ivana together all of the time. And she said they were she thought that Ivana and Ghislaine were best friends or close friends or had a very strong relationship together. Maria Farmer was a victim of Epstein, sexually assaulted by Epstein, sex trafficked by Epstein. And Maria Farmer also tells a story where she was in Epstein's office and Donald Trump came in once, thinking that when he was in the office that Maria Farmer was going to be given by Epstein to Donald. And then Epstein said, no, that's not yours. Yours is in the other room. And Maria Farmer tells that story as well. First, here's Epstein's victim, Maria Farmer, talking about how Ivana Trump was Ghislaine's best friend in her observation. Here, play this clip.
Ivana Trump was like her best friend.
And with
Ivana.
Yeah, with Ivana, then, I described that, she'd be there. How
That
often?
was creepy. So at the time, Ivana had she was doing QVC, selling jewelry, right? Online. I mean, on TV. She was like a QVC queen. Donald Trump. And Donald Trump was always hanging out with Epstein, and Ivana was always hanging out with Ghislaine.
Right.
And Ivana she would say, we're going to go pick up Ivana, or Ivana's going to come. And we'd ride in the car with her. And I remember one occasion where Ghislaine's like, I have to get out right now. And she went and got a number from a child, and I saw in a uniform.
Yeah. And
everybody knew what they were doing. Everybody who surrounded them knew exactly what they were doing.
And but how often? Did you go for rides often with her and Ivana? Or,
yes.
And would she pick up girls all the time?
Yes. She didn't bring them in the car. She would get their phone numbers.
Right.
But she would drive by schools.
Right. So
as they got out.
So would she?
Yeah.
And what's Ivana doing at this point? What are they
sitting in the car? And I'll never forget, because one day I was really weirded out by what had happened. I was really weirded out. So I'm sorry, my phone's beeping in. Just give it a second. But anyway, I've got to go in a second. But I just wanted to tell you, I was weirded out when they were driving around with this. So Ghislaine, to shut me up, gave me one of those cheap bracelets Ivana was selling on QVC, and said, Ivana wants you to have this. And I threw it in the garbage.
Now, here's another audio of Maria Farmer, again, Epstein's victim, who came forward very early on. And she speaks about an incident where she was going to Epstein's office building and she ran into Trump. And then Trump thought that he was going to have her for the night, Maria Farmer alleges. But then Epstein said, you got to go in the other room. The other one's waiting for you in the other room. Here, play this clip.
The time that is most memorable to me is the time when he hit on me. Because I was in the office. It was one of the first times I started working for Donald Trump's a sleazebag. Okay.
Yes.
It was when I started working for Epstein, and it was 9:00 at night.
Right.
And Jeffrey Epstein's office was totally empty. And I told the New York Times this, but of course they don't tell the whole thing, right? Even though Mike Baker is amazing, but they would not allow him to tell the truth. Right. So basically, I go into this office. It's 9:00 at night, and I sit down. And a few minutes later, and I'm wearing running clothes. Okay. So it was really weird. It's 9:00 at night and I'm wearing running clothes because I didn't have money. So I had to jog up there.
Right.
And so I've just struggled, for so long. So I'm like up there in the office seated, and I've got my, my running clothes on. So my legs are showing. And in walks this man that when I reported him to the FBI, said that game show host, Donald Trump, because I thought he was a game show host.
Yeah.
He's so cheesy, But anyway, so I said, I said hello to him. He walks in, and I just kind of acknowledged him like a head nod or something.
Yeah. And
he immediately starts, he's standing across the room from me, and I'm seated. And he's like, oh, Maria, no, he didn't. Sorry. I was just looking at something. He's standing across the room, and he's looking at me, and I'm like, oh, gross. This guy's so gross. Anyway, he's just glaring at my legs. Like, yum. I told my sister, I felt like I was his dinner or his lunch, Yeah. The way he was looking at me. So Epstein comes in. And by the way, I did not look good. I was like, I'm not exceptionally beautiful or anything like that. These are just gross people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm just like a normal person who went on a run, and I'm seated there. So he assumed I was there for him. And this is how I know. Epstein walks up to him and goes, no, she's not here for you. And they were smirking, and Epstein whispered something. He goes, go in there. And so Trump at 9:00 at night goes in the other room. There's someone in there for him.
Right.
I don't know who, but Epstein said, no, she's not here for you.
Okay, now, as it relates to the death in 2022, unexpected, Ivana was healthy, a lot of question marks surrounding it. The coroners ruled out foul play, but I'll let you be the judge of how you think about that situation. By the way, in some of the other clips I showed you, you saw the New York place, and you may have even been able to spot some of those stairs in the background. But NBC New York did an analysis about the burial site and whether it's true or if it's just, rumor, gossip, that you could get these tax benefits in New Jersey by utilizing your property as a burial grounds. And the NBC investigation found, no, you get massive, massive tax breaks. Here, play this clip.
Pictures of a burial plot at the Trump National Golf Club in Bedminster is raising questions about the Trump organization's taxes. According to the New York Post, the burial plot is Ivana Trump's final resting place. And as News 4's Chris Glorioso reports, that could have tax benefits for the former president.
It is unquestionably a golf course, but is it now a cemetery too? The New York Post now reports Ivana Trump's gravesite is a stone's throw away from the first tee box at Trump National Golf Club in Bedminster. If this is the final resting place for the ex-president's ex-wife, that could convey tax benefits in the state of New Jersey.
I think what really grabs people about this story is that it involves the two perennials, death and taxes.
Dartmouth sociologist Dr. Brooke Harrington studies how wealthy people shield their money from taxes. She saw reports of Ivana Trump's golf course burial and looked up New Jersey's cemetery regulations. It turns out designating your property as a cemetery could provide exemptions for property taxes, income taxes, sales tax, and the collection of judgments.
Okay, now, as you know, in the story that I've been reporting on, Ivana gets cheated on by Donald with Marla Maples right around 1990. There's this run-in, I think, that they have together. I think it was in Aspen, where they see each other. And then shortly thereafter, the divorce basically kicks into high gear. Then Donald Trump starts doing all of these interviews with Marla and Tiffany, quickly has a baby with Marla. And then Donald Trump talks about his 2-year-old daughter, describing the potential that Tiffany can have with legs and breasts based on Marla. This is how Donald Trump's talking about his 2-year-old daughter. Play this clip.
It's the lost Donald Trump video that has people talking. Trump and then-wife Marla Maples appeared on the TV show Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous back in 1994. Host Robin Leach asked about their daughter Tiffany, who was then just a year old.
Now, Donald, what does Tiffany have of yours and what does Tiffany have of Marla's?
Well, I think that she's got a lot of Marla. She's really a beautiful baby, and she's got Marla's legs. We don't know whether or not she's got this part yet, but time will tell.
Now, I'm sure you also have seen this clip of this is how Donald Trump talks about Ivanka on multiple interviews. He's talked about he thinks that he has sex in common with her and that he would date his own daughter, but she happens to be his daughter. Here, play this clip.
She does have a very nice figure. I've said that if Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her. You know.
Okay, Ivanka, what's the favorite thing you have in common with your father?
Either real estate or golf.
Donald, with your daughter?
Well, I was going to say sex, but I can't relate that
If I weren't happily married and, her father.
My daughter, Ivanka.
Yeah.
She's 6 feet tall. She's got the best body.
By the way, your daughter.
She's beautiful.
Can I say this? A piece of ass. Yeah. She looks more voluptuous than ever.
She's actually always been very voluptuous. She's tall. She's almost 6 feet.
You going up the escalator? I'm going to be dating her in 10 years. Can you believe it?
Now, finally, it should come as no shock that 69% of Americans agree that the federal government is hiding Epstein stuff. Here, play this clip.
Jessica, last weekend we spoke about it. Interest in the Epstein files and the Epstein case is sky high, and the American public does not trust what the government is selling them. What are we talking about here? Is the government hiding Epstein's alleged client list? Get this, 69% of Americans agree that the federal government is, in fact, hiding Epstein's alleged client list versus just 6% who say that they are not. And get this, a majority of Republicans and Democrats do in fact agree on this issue that the government is hiding Epstein's alleged client list. You can never get a majority of Republicans and Democrats to agree on anything, but they do agree on this particular issue. And perhaps not so surprisingly, you get a plurality of Democrats and Republicans agreeing that they are dissatisfied with the amount of information that the government has released so far.
Well, I think that gives you a comprehensive view and perhaps new insight and perspective, tying it all together as it relates to Ivana. And she died under, in my opinion, suspicious circumstances. But to be clear, the coroner said there was no foul play, but you can judge for yourself. So there you have it. hit subscribe. Go to MeidasPlus.com as well. We're an independent media network. And so and I know you've appreciated the in-depth reports we're doing. If you go to MeidasPlus.com, subscribe there. It helps us a lot if you can. And subscribe here to the YouTube channel. Thanks for watching and have a wonderful day.
New Meidas merch drop! Check out the latest pro-democracy sticker packs, t-shirts, hats, sweatshirts, and more. All at store.MeidasTouch.com.